Welcome back, and it's our second panel discussion of the day, and it's on AI and digital transformation. Now, artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic concept. It's reshaping patient pathways and back end systems across the NHS right now. Our next session explores how AI and digital transformation are empowering better care, driving efficiencies, and supporting clinicians with intelligent insights. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our panel today. We are joined by Afshin Atari, Director, Public Sector and Unified Platforms of Exponential-e. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Afshin. We've got he's a friend of these conferences, Sharon Matthew, founder and CEO of AI Tech UK. Welcome, Sharon. We have another friend of our conferences, Andy Wilkins, founder of Future of Health. Welcome back, Andy. And of course, we've got Olu Odin E. Oh gosh, I'm going to say your surname right. Odin Enyi. Odin. Oh, sorry, Olu.
Denny.
Oh, Denny, thank you. Non-executive director, Kent Community Health NHS Foundation Trust. Welcome, Olu. We always love having you on as well. I'm going to just put out further because I always say when we say the words AI and digital transformation, it's important just to go back to the basics of AI and digital transformation, because I think sometimes in our brains we go on to the future and Mission Impossible style Hollywood, but actually the AI is happening right now, and it's doing such amazing work. Sharon, if I start with you, could we just remind everyone about AI in the NHS and what it's actually doing right now?
A lot of interesting stuff, and often we overlook the potential and power of AI as a technology.
Yeah.
I've worked in NHS for a good couple of years in multiple capacity with acute trust, with NIHR, and also with the Innovation Network. And I've seen endless and limitless possibilities of AI adding operational efficiency, end-to-end predictability, managing capacity and demand, not just diagnostics, but also, literally finding the next, say prescription, drugs discovery. It is limited pretty much by what challenges we are tackling. So wherever there is challenge in NHS, there's possibilities of using AI.
Okay.
And that's what excites me the most. It's just like the question is, what is the challenge? Where is the problem? And can we solve that with AI as a technology? And we have a lot of data. We just need to work through it.
And Olu, we've mentioned this before? Are the NHS prepared? Have we got enough? Have we got enough people working on this? We've looked at, Sharon's there saying, right, what are the problems? What can we do to the solutions? Can the NHS keep up with this?
I think we're in a state of evolution, right? And AI has got the potential to revolutionize the way we do things. But I think in practice, it's an evolution, because you need to get the board on, or the board need to be involved, and they need to understand what risks there are. There needs to be a strong clinical voice, I believe, as you're making these changes. You've got to think about the workers as well, the people who are going to be using and interacting with that technology. So I think we're in a state of evolution. The fact that it's been highlighted so clearly in the 10-year plan is good, and I think that provides a nice boost. But as I say, we're in a state of evolution, and there'll probably be a few hiccups along the way. But can it cope? Yes, it can, if we get leadership on board.
Ashley, from your experience, is that what it's about, the leadership that needs to be on board with everything? Because, from your point of view, and how the work that you do, how you've got the solutions, but how do you get people on board with that?
I think it's comforting people. I think what I would say is that if we go back to the 10-year plan and the ambitions around the 10-year plan, which is around prevention of ailment other than cure, moving from analog to digital and moving care to the community, as a nation, we need to embrace digital change, because the funds which are coming and the aging population requires us to take a differing approach. So in answer to your question, I think sometimes understanding how that governance, how that insurance, how that security is going to work is seen as a perceived risk. But that perceived risk, if it's managed, can translate into opportunities. And what we need to recognize, and what we've seen, if I give you an example around digital pathology, the aging, the workforce is aging. The average age, 20% of our pathologists will be retiring within the next 5 years. The workforce capability and people interested in pathology is diminishing, and we have stringent clinical targets around cancer cure, which are within the time limits that we need to achieve, which are somewhat being missed. So the question is, how can we reframe this problem, and how can we use technology to aid that change? So again, coming back to your original question, I think it's reassuring the execs who are responsible in delivering these type of services that the use of technology is safe, is assured, and actually will support their long-term objectives. Because I haven't met one exec who's pushed back. I think they're just concerned they need to be reassured.
Okay. You mentioned prevention there, and I think that's something I think we do. Andy, I'm going to throw this to you. Do we have to change the way we look at healthcare? Because we're talking about to prevent, when we come to AI and digital transformation, it's about the steps before, isn't it, as well? And as us as sort of patients, we need to have a bit more of a proactive thinking, sort of like, right, I'm broken, so fix me. Well, actually, this is a great way of showing with AI and digital transformation is that actually if we take our power, we're empowered with our health, and we take these steps, then we're actually helping things in the long run as well. I think I'm making sense. Andy, please smile. Does that mean, yeah, is that how you see it as well? That prevention is actually the word that's really important here.
No, thank you for raising that, and it does point to a need for us to think about what are we trying to do here? What can we mobilize AI in service of? And just before I start, I think this conversation is so important because I do a lot of work on futures and where things are going. And what you see is digital and AI rapidly expanding in its scope and capabilities. Any future healthcare system is going to be digital and AI to its core. So it's going to be absolutely important that within the NHS, we have a core capability. This is going to be the brains of how a new health system is going to work. Yeah. So what kind of capabilities and skill sets do we need inside the system to be able to steward us on this journey? It can't just be outsourcing it. It's core to our future. So I just want to make that point. But on your point about prevention, and what that points to is looking at people more holistically than we currently do. And this is, again, another sort of meta challenge for us in our thinking. If we look at the way that we do things at the moment, it's heavily siloed. We have an ologist for every organ of the body. We have lots of care pathways that deal with bits of people's health. And even out in the prevention space, we've got stuff going around smoking and stuff going around exercise and diet. Everything is in silos. And there's a risk that we take our new digital superpowers and deploy them to make all those silos go a bit faster. So we'll have siloed digital and siloed AI. And the integration agenda, the sort of whole person, is really inviting us to see we are actually talking about whole people and complex behaviors. So there's a risk that if we just apply AI and digital to our silos, we'll create a siloed digital and an AI world. So the work I'm doing is largely around this 3 horizons model, which is to say the way we do things in our siloed transactional way is horizon 1. This is the way we do things today. But if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll keep getting what we're getting. And it isn't really working because the population's getting sicker. So no amount of bootstrapping a broken model is going to give us a healthy population. So let's down tools. Let's look at what is actually required to bring healthy people along on this journey. It's going to require more holistic treatment side, but it's also going to need bringing the prevention side. We're going to see people more holistically. So how can we orchestrate all the activity we're doing around individuals, and how can digital and AI be in service of that goal? Because that's going to give us the breakthrough. That's going to bring us the transformation. And this requires us to do a lot of reimagining and rethinking, like that Horizon 3? How do we get from this Horizon 1 world where we could bootstrap things to squeeze more juice out of it, but how do we go on a transformational journey to mobilize these superpowers in service of healthier whole people? And that is the sort of meta challenge that sits around all of this.
And the challenge is you've used the word holistic and digital, and those two words you wouldn't put together. And that's how I see the challenge is that how do we get we're talking about the person, yet we're using AI, and those for me, is it possible to get the two working together? I'm going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think Alan's point is a really good one, actually, and it sort of emphasises the point that AI and indeed digital technology is subservient, right? It's subservient to what our central goals are.
Okay.
And at the moment, as Alan mentioned, you've got lots of different pathways, for example, and a person might have this thing wrong with them, and they go to that person. Then you go to. Now, you have seen integrated, neighbourhood teams being established. You've seen multidisciplinary teams being established, but very much so the pathways are kind of they're a bit siloed, as Alan mentioned. So I think really it's to establish the goal of what we're trying to achieve, and then to see how AI can help us. We don't lead with AI; we lead with what we're trying to achieve.
Exactly.
Actually, is that sometimes you see that people see the AI as that's the main focus. Olu was right there. It should be the other way around: the person first, and then the AI underneath. But how is that hard where in your area of work, because people just sort of, it's so easy to rely so much on the AI solution?
I think
in practice, I think. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sorry. I think supporting what Andy was saying, taking analog pathways and making them digital isn't necessarily the answer.
Okay.
And what I would say is, because this is seen as a complex, multi-dimensional model, what you have is you have the clinical inputs and the expertise which sits in curing and treating ailments in different stages, of which we're a technology company. We're not experts in that field.
Okay.
However, what we are good at is translating the perceived risk and understanding those technical perceived risks and translating those into opportunities. So, and this is where the collaboration between the health service and the industry is quite important, because we are experts in what we do. We're not health clinicians, but we can manage the perceived elements around assurance, governance, security, resilience, etc., data sharing, and we can recommend ways of working. And that's where we can support this transformation. So, and I always talk about outcomes. If we can collectively understand what outcome we want to achieve, the next question is, what are the key building blocks in achieving that outcome? Part of that is transformation in the health service, and other aspects is actually supports from tech companies like managed service companies like us, which can enable and de-risk that. Sorry to interrupt you, by the way.
Oh no! Oh yeah, no, honestly, but it's responsibility as well. There was a huge responsibility with this. Sharon, I know we've talked in the past about that, and how can we achieve that AI transformation with that responsibility at the same time?
Yeah, very interesting question, and this comes back to how do we embed responsible AI leadership and accountability throughout the process. And sometimes we have to step away a little bit and understand that if you are going to transform within NHS, we got to understand there is n number of departments, n number of processes, and as Andy, Olu, and Afsin mentioned, there needs to be that overarching harmony and coherence as well. So, and I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel. So every time I work with an organization or an institute, I walk in as a chief AI officer to put an AI strategy, framework, and process in place in a very platform agnostic manner. And this is not about what technology, or not to use technology to fit into our process, more about putting people and purpose at the center of AI transformation. And to do that, there's many frameworks that I've implemented. There is a transformation framework where we look at the purpose and the drivers of why we're doing this. Who is the beneficiary? Is this there to augment, optimize, and operationalize certain things that's not inefficient, for example? So really, the goal, the vision, and the strategy starts from the first step. Then ensuring these things stack up nicely with the technicality of AI, which is designing it properly, developing it properly. And there's a key thing, it's in the chat as well, about sovereignty.
Yes.
Sovereignty and compliance and governance, I would say, is the heart and soul of NHS AI transformation. We are not dealing with just any data. We're not just making any random recommendation. We're making health-specific recommendation, which means there's so much risk. Even if we get our AI 99.9% accurate, because who's accountable for that inaccuracy?
Yeah.
Which means discovery, design, development, due diligence, and ensuring democratizing this with the right stakeholders, which is patients and people. So yes, there's a lot that's packed in this. So we need to make sure that end-to-end governance in place, and we do this proactively at scale from day one.
Do we involve the frontline staff enough when it comes to digital transformation? Is there, one, the willingness from the frontline staff to be involved, and two, is it just, or some, I don't know, I'm not on the front line, so I don't know. I think we've got a comment here saying there are so many ways that AI can transform healthcare. Should we prioritize certain areas over others? It's a difficult one.
Yeah. I think well, the two sort of bits of the question there. In terms of involving the frontline staff, I mean, it's essential. One of the biggest reasons for transformations to fail is because the culture doesn't change, right? So all the capability is there, but the users aren't on board with that. And I think when you're talking about the NHS, where we see the patient as number one, that's patient safety, patient care, patient experience is really at the top of the list. We've got to also make sure that they understand what their how their data is being used, etc., and so on. So I think it's really important to have workers involved both on the NHS side, but at times to also inform the patient, and that's where ethics comes into play as well.
Yeah, it's always about bringing it back to the why, isn't it? That's the most important question, is like, why are you doing it this way? Why? And when you get that education, actually, is the why question the most important question for you when it comes to developing?
Yes, it is. I'm very excited and fortunate enough to be asked to lead some strategy work for one of the big trusts at the moment, so we could take this debate right into leadership. And it feels like there are a bunch of stakeholders who need to be involved in this conversation. There is the leadership, because if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll keep getting what we're getting. If we just apply AI to do things a bit faster within our silos, then we'll squeeze a little bit more juice, but we're missing the real opportunity. So, but if leaders don't get that, they'll still be trying to performance manage the existing system and wanting us to use AI for that. So taking the leadership on a journey we need to reimagine how we deliver services, and we need to think deeply about what the technology enablers can do to do that. So getting the leadership on board is really important. Secondly, what is it that people need and want? What is it that creates sickness? What is it that people require from being looked after holistically? And so using that patient voice or the lived experience as an input to how we design for that future is really important. They're important stakeholders. Clinicians, we've been running workshops with clinicians to think about how they do work at the moment. Why do their patients turn up? What is it that we could be doing in a more preventative way? What is it that we could be doing to enable our patients to be more self-empowered? And like we're missing tricks. So clinicians give us that insight about what could be done at that level. And then as we look at our tech as well, AI can only work if it's got access to clean data. And what we see is our data estate is so fragmented, it's so split over across different silos, it's so unclean in certain areas that even if all the technology is there, which it is, we can't use it because we haven't got a data strategy that's preparing us for this AI world. So we've got to get our sort of digital estate AI ready, and that's a really important thing. So having the strategy, the patients, the clinicians, and a holistic approach to how we take our digital estate forward, these are big tectonic shifts if we coordinate those correctly, then we can create the space for a really rapid transformation.
Afshin, can you help with this, please? Is this something you can do, please? Oh.
If I could, the thing that we see a lot when we speak to the NHS, the most common thing we hear back is it's too difficult.
Oh.
So, and if I put my engineering hat on, strategic intent and policy is great. The question is, how does strategy translate into plans and into actions? And there are some structural points which need addressing. For example, the funding models are very capital based in the NHS. But if you're buying services, do you need to be doing that? The fundings sometimes are siloed, where you're replicating those fundings across multiple organizations, but not in a holistic manner. And if you're, and the NHS is not a competing environment like the enterprise world. So from one example could be, why don't we create AI innovation passports? So if an idea has been implemented in one area and it has derived great value, why don't we reuse that? And why don't we implement that because it's been tried and tested? And coming back to Andy's point, AI is only efficient when data is shared and data is. So what we need to do is, what we've seen is in the case of pathology, where we've seen good outcomes is where organizations have come together and they've agreed that they're going to be doing creating data lakes. That's the first point. Sharing that information and not attacking the AI point, the sharing of images in the pathology platform, allowing pathologists to be able to access information across multiple entities as derived outcomes. Yeah. The AI conversation will follow suit, because what you say is, can you use AI and technology to support the pathologist in pattern recognition and diagnosis? It's not replacing, but it's taking the burden away. So taking the structural challenges away of funding, taking the structural challenges of actually sharing information, creating platforms which creates that, will deliver the art and the possibility of this. I guess it's falling into too difficult box. And what we've seen within the NHS over many years, I've been working with the public sector in excess of 20 years. There are great ideas, but when it comes into execution of that strategy, it falls into the too difficult box. Culturally, that's what we need to address. And as I said, most of the individuals that we meet want to embrace this, because if it's going to deliver a better working environment for them and allow them to be proud, I guess, civil servants are proud practitioners in that space, why wouldn't they not embrace it? And this is where that's where the cultural aspects of that we need to address.
It's more than just a digital transformation, isn't it? It's more of a cultural transformation. It's everything. You can't just pin everything on AI and digital, and you can't just call it that, can we? You have to call it as a culture transfer. It is because we've got to look at things differently. And as people come into the issue, it's going to be a whole different process than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It can't be the same, can it? Yes, Andy.
I think as well.
I
think as well. I mean, you've got Andy doing that big strategy work, and I totally agree with what Ashwin and Andy has said. The issue you've got, of course, is you've got here and now, today, right? And a strategy, almost by definition, is it's looking at the bigger, longer term. So that's the direction of travel where we want to be heading. But you've got the here and now, and some of those reasons why things are too difficult are because of the current structures in place, the legal structures, the organizational structures, etc., and so on. So the question, of course, is how do we? So you've got the bigger strategy perhaps being formed or created down the road. How do we get from where we are today to where we want to be tomorrow? It's a question, and squeezing a bit more juice is going to be one of those stepping stones, I think, which will actually help to flush out some of the ethical issues, as well as begin to build some trust amongst the stakeholders.
Definitely. Yes, Andy.
Ola, you're right. I'm advocating we need top-down thinking and bottom-up experimentation. If we don't have the top-down thinking, then today's priorities will become today's priorities, and we'll always be stuck in incremental firefighting of. So if we're going to change things, we have to have a bigger story about where we're going and what good looks like. But we've got to address the here and now. So there is something as in the chat about where do we prioritize, what experiments do we spin up, so we can start to learn how to do this well. And what does that mean for patients? What does it mean for clinicians? What does it mean for culture? What does it mean for how we steward this in? What does it mean for our digital estate? And what lessons can we learn that we can start to extend more broadly? I mean, there's stuff we can do at patient enablement. There's stuff that we can do about clinician decision report. There's stuff that we could be doing about ambient technology to record stuff. There's stuff that we could be doing about automating pathways and looking at big data to spot. There's AI can be used all the way through that stack, but we need to start those experiments to get people experienced with thinking differently, doing differently, such that we can draw that insight and start to extend that more widely inside a bigger story of transformation.
I think, Andy, I love that, because I think you're right. It's about we can't. You mentioned it. If we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got.
Yeah.
And this is what we have to start people thinking about. Like, you can't keep moaning about stuff because that you'll get the same. Sharon, jump in on for me, because it's about now, isn't it? Carry on for me.
So just a quick point on that, just to compliment Andy and Olu. And I've seen 3 interesting questions, and I'm conscious of time. So I'll speak fast. So first thing is, we all know the potentials and power of AI. It's like we all know what helicopter can do, and we are taking buses right now. So pragmatic approach is, you know what? Let's think about a fast car. So, and when we get on a fast car, what do we need to do? Everyone needs the awareness of what it can do. Where are the brakes? Why we need seatbelts? Why we need airbags? And more importantly, we need driving license and insurance. I think awareness, lack of awareness rather, is where the strategy fails. Culture eats AI strategy for breakfast. So I think that awareness, literally at organization, I mean the NHS level, will actually improve the adoption and understanding. And also knowing that, eventually I will get on a plane, but I think for now, let me get to A to B in a fast car. And that's what we need to be very realistic of. Speaking of which, safety, governance, compliance, sovereignty, all of this plays a huge role. And not knowing that in advance, like, for example, I'm going to use the car as an example. If we don't know the roads, regulation, giveaway signs, we're going to have a car crash. And that's why there's a lot of hesitation, especially with AI adoption internally and strategically. So hopefully that wraps up a few of those points.
So basically, we need to know the rules, know what we're doing, but get really excited about it, but also be aware of it. It's right, isn't it? It's keeping that enthusiasm, the positivity about AI and digital transformation, but also being very, very much grounded at the same time, taking baby steps with it, but just keep bringing everyone on that journey with it. I'm going to go around just as a little bit of a summary, just because you've all been brilliant and we are running out of time. Andy, final word from you. What would you like?
AI is an enabler for what? We need to be much clearer about what that is, and we need to stretch our ambitions way beyond what we're doing now. If you take a quick look at the AI pathway of development, people are talking about exponential increases in capability. There's an interesting paper out called 2027, which talks about we're rapidly going to artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence within a few years. So the power of this technology is accelerating rapidly. But what is it that we want to put it in service of? We've got to do that thinking and share the AI story much more widely around the organization, because I think with too many people in too many parts of the organization still doing what they've always done and not seeing there's a real transformational superpower emerging in front of us that we could mobilize and do so many better things for the people that we serve.
And Olu, from you, a little bit for a summary, end on a positive note.
Take the workforce with you.
And
the stakeholders, take them with you.
I need to say that, but this is that you are always mentioning that, and and it's so important. So I always thank you for that. Sharon.
I would say be proactive, be ethical. It is a superpower, especially when we're dealing with our key stakeholders, which is patient people, and design this with the purpose in mind, which is how do we augment every function, every stakeholder in our AI transformation within NHS.
Love it, Sharon. And Ashin, you've been absolutely brilliant today with all of your insight as well. So I'm going to leave the final, no pressure, but the final summary from you.
What I would say is this is no longer a choice. If you look at the aging workforce, if you look at the aging population, and if you look at the outcomes that we want to achieve, we really need to rewrite this book, as Andy said. And with the challenge on funding, we need to think creatively. And I think the opportunity absolutely is there to make that happen. So collaboration between all parties is crucial, and we can make this happen.
I know you can, Afshin. I know we're in very safe hands. Afshin, Olu, Sharon, and Andy, thank you so much for your time. Always when I know people are scared or have doubts or anything, you guys really know how to say it exactly how it is. So thank you so much. We'll take a short break. We'll be back at 11:40 for our next debate, and that will be on virtual wards and telemedicine. So another fantastic debate then. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you.